You've just tuned in for the latest transmission of Rice Against the Grain. And today I am joined by a first time guest, a very special guest, Kitty Demure. And I invited Kitty on for a conversation about current events revolving around the LGBTQIA plus movement and much more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me on today's show is a very special guest, first time guest, and actually a first time interview for me. Today, I am joined by Kitty Demure. Kitty, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me.
Well, I honestly, again, really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. We had some private conversations, and I found you to be very enlightening, especially in today's day and age with everything that's going on within the, and I got to be careful about how I'm saying some of these words, but the transgender movement, the LGBTQIA plus you're definitely a light shining, and I appreciate what you're doing and how outspoken you are, which we're going to get totally into today. I'm going to have links down below for your YouTube channel as well as all your socials. We'll kind of get into who you are, talk a little bit about your views on things, talk about your other alter ego, and I also have links down below for everything that I'm screen sharing. You did a recent appearance. I wouldn't say recent, but a couple times you've appeared on Fox News.
Right.
And a couple months ago, you were on Tim Pool's show, The Culture War, which was a very interesting episode. I've watched about 75 to 80% of the episode. And you were not, you weren't dressed the same way that you were dressed today. You were kind of dressed more in a normal fashion as a man.
Yeah,
Very
biological man. Yeah.
very different. So for people who don't know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself in your words? Who is Kitty Demure?
Okay. Well, in real life, my name's Billy. I'm a drag performer, Kitty Demure. Been performing for several years, but most of my experience is working behind the scenes in drag, working with well-known drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, producing shows, working in a club in LA as a manager, and performing. And then when COVID hit, I decided to just focus on electronic drag. I guess that's what you could call it. And that's where I kind of blew up was on the internet because of a video I made warning parents like what's with taking your kids to the library and having a drag queen read to them. That's when I first heard that I went, that's kind of weird. I mean, all the years I've been working in drag, it's been in adult venues with go-go boys and strippers and you know, uh lewd acts and adult entertainment. And I didn't see the connection of why they would want to absorb children into this culture and art. And that's kind of where I started and got noticed online.
And that's where I find you to be like a light shining in that whole entire movement, because I haven't met anyone like yourself that, and I'm sure there are others. I'm sure there are, but I haven't met as many that are as outspoken and almost conservative as you in some ways.
Right. I mean, I guess I would be considered a conservative in the gay world. I mean, I'm hardly a conservative with right-wing,
That's what I
Republicans.
meant. Yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing is in what I do and what I advocate for, naturally I get hate from the left, but it does amaze me that, the religious right doesn't like what I do either. They'd much rather I just go away rather than speak the truth about my own community. Because I guess they don't want the message to come from me because I'm, an abomination. But that's yeah, I get it from both sides, and I don't understand it.
The video that you were talking about in regards to the drag queen story hour, so I can highlight it to people that are watching. Which one is that specifically? Is it the first? Is it the latest one that's on your channel? The message to drag queens.
No, it's toward the bottom. I made it in 2019.
Okay, this one's more about the Miss Doubtfire thing, I believe.
Yes, this is all, let me see, keep going. Um,
I know you sent me the link, I just didn't realize I haven't watched all of your videos, and I didn't realize how many videos that you actually had.
yeah, there's a ton of them. Wow, is it even on this channel? It has to be,
I believe
on
it
there.
is.
Let me think.
Scrolling up, we're at 4 years.
I'm actually wearing the same hair that I'm wearing now. So it's brown.
I'm reading the titles,
You know, in some of
oh,
these
here it
video
is, here it is. The one that says drag queen responds
that
to drag queen story hour, book hour, but you
that's it.
identify more as a drag performer, not necessarily a drag queen.
Right. You know, I mean, I'll, you know, I understand traditionally it's drag queen, and you know, I'm not one to, you know, complain about, you know, titles or pronouns or anything. But yeah, if I could rewrite it all, it'd be drag performer.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right, so when I noticed that when you were, and we talked about this before we started recording, but you were on Fox News with Jesse Waters, and he referred to you as a she.
Right.
And you've been on there a few times, but and I don't know if, and you made a point to say that you were a gay man. I don't know if you did that in relation to the fact that he said she, or if you were just doing that just to make it clear who you are. But how do you get miss? I don't know if misgendered is the right word. I guess that would be the right word. Do you get misgendered? Do people think that you're like a transgender versus a drag performer?
Um, you know what? When I'm in gay spaces, they know it's drag, but when you're no, you know, in say a different arena and you happen to be in drag, which I very seldom would go in public dressed like this, it's quite obvious that I'm a man because you know, um drag heavily depends on lighting and, you know, heavy makeup and smoke and mirrors in a club and flashing lights and things like that. So it's very rare that a man would actually go around in drag and not be seen as like a big female clown, because that's really what we look like in person in the daylight.
The same thing works because I told you when we had talked personally that I was a gentleman's club DJ for several years, and the same thing works in the gentleman's club because those girls are having a cake on, a lot of makeup, and when you see them um, not dressed as much in the gentleman's club mode, they look like a totally different individual. So yeah, I can
Oh
see
yeah,
that similarity too.
it's just a costume, but you know, and I'm 6'4", 275 pounds. So I look like a football player, you know, off camera. So uh maybe they would, you know, I think probably people, if I walked out like this and just went shopping, they would call me she and her just because it's obvious that I want to be called that by the way I look. But if I was trans, but you know, I think, you know, we talked about this before. A lot of people get confused by the different titles or the different, you know, labels that people put to themselves. And unfortunately, that is something that keeps evolving and changing in the gay community, or the LGBTQ plus, you know, next letter to be added soon, you know,
Yeah,
community.
it
And
gets
it's like,
confusing.
it's confusing to us as well because I don't know who's making these rules, but I'd love to meet them.
Because yeah, it just used to be LGBT, and then they added the Q, and then the I and A, which I guess is intersex, and then A is supposed to be for
Is it
asexual.
asexual? Yeah,
Yeah,
so
asexual.
if you're just a sexless person, then I guess you're part of the LGBTQ community, which is something I can't stand. It's
It's
like,
like
why?
everything not straight gets lumped in that
Yeah, yeah,
category.
yeah. So to
If you're
me,
not
it seems
hetero, you're in that category.
so doesn't it seems to me it seems more logical just to create the H community, the heterosexual community. I mean, if you're going to
N-
discount that one community from your community, then isn't that it should just be okay, we'll stop with our acronyms and just give heterosexuals an H.
Yeah, no, I mean, back in the day, I saw something that was black and white called the straight flag. I don't know if you ever seen that before. It's a black and
I
white
got,
flag
yeah. Mhm.
versus the rainbow flag to represent the pride movement.
You know what's funny is me and my friends, I guess we're, like I said, we're conservative gays, if you want to call it that. We're really heavily involved in like political movements and protesting, and we mostly hang out with straight people because it's mostly straight people that are on the right who are so vocal. And we went to a straight pride parade up in Modesto, California, and it was sponsored by who Jesse Peterson is.
Jesse Peterson. The name
Yeah,
sounds from is Pederson.
yeah, he's like an older black man.
Okay.
And he's really good. And he's the one who actually ran it. And we went up there and met him, and we supported them. We took our gay flag too, and they were very happy to see us there to support them, because we actually have a lot of allies that are heterosexual that support us. So why not?
No, it's interesting even that you mentioned that, because I was going to talk to you about like your political views, like how you looked at politics, because being kind of seeming like a conservative gay in that aspect of, even though you're more liberal compared to a heterosexual,
Right.
but then when it comes, you talked about going to rallies and people on the right. So do you identify also as a Republican? Do you support any political parties in that aspect?
Well, okay, so I'm 54 years old. I've always done and was told, basically I'm a Democrat. And I don't, when 2015 came around and the whole election cycle, and Trump and Hillary, I couldn't I just did not want Hillary to win. And I'm like, well, Trump's my alternative. And I honestly thought that Hillary would win. Like I did. I'm all, it's Trump, he's a real estate dude, a real, a businessman, reality star. And, I always thought he was funny and, kind of in your face and stuff. And I thought I liked him, but, I didn't think he was going to be president. But I voted for him anyway, just out of like, oh, I'm going to vote for him. Screw Hillary. So anyway, when election night came and he won, I was like just flabbergasted, and everything changed from there. I started meeting people that what is so funny is that they're supposed to hate me and want me to die. And these people are,
Republicans, you mean?
yes.
Okay.
Greatest people, greatest, warmest, most welcoming people. And yes, you know what? They have their beliefs, and we all have our beliefs. And just because they wouldn't live my lifestyle doesn't mean that we don't have something in common, and we don't have to bond on my lifestyle. In fact, I don't even expect them to accept my lifestyle. I just don't care. And that's kind of where I'm at in life, is I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what they say about me behind my back. I don't care. I it's nothing new. So I don't care. That's not important to me. But if as long as we fight for the same things, guns, freedom, smaller government, leave kids alone, people mind their own business and do their own thing. You know what? I don't care, And we already have the right to marry, even though I'm not going to get married anyway. But it's, I just don't. I could still live my life, and I walk the streets and I do what I want, and I show up at these protests and rally, I don't hold a flag over my head that says, "Hey, I'm a big homo," but eventually they figure it out, and nobody cares. Nobody care if you don't shove something down someone's throat. They're not going to care about what you do, and that's kind of where I'm at.
So when you go to these rallies, if it's not like a pride type rally, let's just say it's a political rally, like a Republican rally, a Trump rally. Have you been to Trump rallies? Okay.
I've been to 3 of them. Yeah.
Do you go dressed as Kitty Demure, or do you go as Billy?
I go as Billy. I'm wearing camouflage shorts, a Trump shirt, a hat. I just
you try to look redneck?
What's that?
Do you try to look redneck? Is that with the camouflage?
Yeah, well, that's my everyday outfit. I mean, I live in Southern California and I dress like that. I mean,
Okay.
and I'm just a regular guy outside of this, and I know it's hard to convince an audience of that when this is what they see. But yeah, my first Trump rally was in Arizona. A gay man was the first guy. He was the first person in line. He had camped there for 3 days to get in first. And I met him online and we hooked up. I mean, hooked up in a platonic way. And so we hooked up, and I had my partner with me, and he had his partner, and they had a group of friends. And so no one would ever know that the Trump rally, the first 30 people were all gay people. And who had camped out for days to get there, and best time of my life. And I went up to the front. I took cuts in front of the line. No one called me, slur or anything like that, and my partner's black. No one called him the N-word. No one cared. It's like nobody cared. We were all there having a good time, sharing food and waiting for the rally to start. And it's been like that since that day. And every rally I've gone to, I've never had a bad experience. Never. It's been great.
I've only been to one, and it
Mhm.
was the one in DC in January and in
Oh, really?
2021. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but that was still, even though what was reported, it was still a very beautiful, very patriotic experience. Seeing that many people care about our nation made me tear up talking about it. Just recollecting that feeling that I experienced, which was really powerful. But so you said that you voted for Trump when Trump was going against Hillary Clinton in 2020. Were you pro-Trump when he was going against Biden, and are you still pro-Trump if that's the case?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I voted for Trump again, and I'll yeah, and I'll vote for him. I'll vote for him again coming up. I mean, I don't see another alternative. I mean, I don't know what else we have. What do we have? Biden, or if they try to slip Kamala in there, if they try to slip Michelle Obama or Newsom. Well, I live in California.
Newsom, I think more would be, but he supposedly has stepped down, but I question whether or not they're going to pull Biden out. And then this could be another discussion that we can have for a future episode, but
Yeah.
I question whether they're going to pull Biden out. Kamala is going to be temporarily put in place, and the American public is not going to be cool with that, and they're going to
No.
have to replace Kamala, and I feel like Newsom is that chosen one.
He's
Make
not even,
America California.
and he's not even running California. He's doing nothing here. Like it continues to fall apart. I mean, the city I live in, it is just crawling with homelessness. You can't go anywhere without seeing a tent on a sidewalk with someone living in it, without getting accosted in a parking lot for money. And the funny thing is all these people are living in poor areas. So I live in one of the most violent city, one of the most violent cities in the state and in the country. And it's just gunshots all night. It's just gangs everywhere. Stores getting robbed, cars getting vandalized, and you can't even
Are
call
you
the
in the LA
police.
area, if you don't mind
I'm
me
in
asking?
I'm
I
in
don't want
San
to dox
I'm
you.
in San Bernardino.
Okay.
Okay, which is an hour east of Los Angeles. And
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Los Angeles, San Francisco, it's all tent cities everywhere.
oh yeah, I was just in San Francisco. I don't think people. Well, it's not true, because there's video footage. I guess people just don't care, because I got out of an Uber in San Francisco with a female friend of mine, and we were getting on the BART train, and it dropped us off in front of a federal building that was it. I thought a concert was like people were waiting for a concert. No, people were waiting to do their drugs. They were in different phases of intoxication and passing out, and it was just unreal. It's like, what we see, you see videos on Instagram or whatever, people hunched over and
Yeah,
bobbing and
like
weaving.
Philadelphia, Kensington's one of the worst for that. Like the zombie people, just like yeah, those standing there hunched over and
Mhm.
like half passed out.
It's
It's a lot
crazy.
of it's the fentanyl.
Yeah, and it was at that moment, and I'd never seen that before. I'd only seen it on, video. But then my Uber let us right in the middle of it, and I went, "Oh my god." And they're like harassing my female friend, and we just,
Mm.
and I'm no I mean, I'm a big dude, but I'm not no match for a bunch of druggies. So I don't even want to touch them. So it's like we need to go. So we hurry up, and then we had to go underground and to get to the BART subway, and it was crazy. But no, it's real, and people just don't pay attention to it.
No, I think people are starting to wake up a little bit more to the realities of what's happening to our own nation.
Mhm.
The suffering is happening, and in the fact that we're funding other nations and not taking care of our own, which is again another discussion. But
Right.
something that I found interesting was in that last. I don't know if it was your most recent appearance on Fox News, but you talked about the true history of drag, and I found that to be really intriguing. Do you mind kind of sharing from your perspective of the history of how drag started?
Well, the reason why drag exists is because women were not allowed to perform for the public. And so, say Shakespeare or whoever back then would write a play or whatever, men would have to play the female parts because it was, from what I understand, undignified for a woman to be on stage and to perform. And so in my mind, by today's standards, that's considered misogyny. So you have men, which is kind of funny because now we're kind of seeing that today, aren't we? With trans men or trans women competing against biological women. I mean, it's like men taking up female spaces and then taking credit for it and reaping the rewards. So men, back then they were actors and whatever, and they had to play women, and it just continued over time. And then I don't know why, but somehow the gay men have decided to carry on that tradition.
I found that to be intriguing, like coming from that history, because it makes sense with what you're saying. And
Mhm.
I'm 48. You said you're 54, so we're kind of in a similar age range. And when I
Right.
was growing up, I mean, we had heard terms like cross dresser, and when I was talking with you, to kind of gauge like whether we were going to do this interview or not, you had kind of shared with me that that's kind of like a derogatory kink term. So, and I'm kind of like not aware. Like, what I found interesting was your conversation on Temple with maybe a girl. If I'm
Mhm.
saying, I don't know if that. I'm not sure if maybe is a she, they. I'm not sure how maybe identifies, but um, what I found to be really interesting was, and I kind of lost track when I was trying to be correct about what I was saying about maybe. What was it
We were
that
talking
was?
about terms like the different words we used to
Oh yeah,
use.
the word queer.
Right.
Because when you were growing up, queer was a derogatory term, almost like the fag word.
Right. Exactly.
And now it's kind of like, I don't know if they've twisted it around and now they're wearing it like a badge of honor, but people identify as queer now. Like queer is a thing. It's part of it's the Q in the LGBTQ.
Right, and that's the funny thing is because now they're trying to separate the Q from the G. So as a gay man, as you stated, when someone wanted to insult you, they called you a queer, you know, and that was just you're queer for being gay. Now they want to pretend that we're all queer, and then there's some that are saying that there's queer separate from gay, and I still don't know what that means. As far as I know, what it means is I'm just going to dress in an outlandish way and dare you to misgender me. Like, I don't I just think it's very attention seeking. But a lot of these people are saying queer, and there's lots of us in the gay community. They're like, no, I'm not queer. They're all, well, yes, you are. We've reclaimed the word. I go, oh, so I get it. They're treating it like the N word. So if you're queer, you
That's what
could
I was
say
thinking
queer.
about. That's what I was
Right.
thinking about in my mind when I was thinking about exactly what you just said.
But yet when I've done it with the word, the F word, like, what you said earlier, and I'm like, I've used that. I've been banned and deleted from social media from calling myself that word. And but yet I can't reclaim that word, but yet, because they've all decided, well, no, that's still derogatory. That's still a slur. So we can't use it. And it's like I'm sick of being lumped in with all of these people. It's what since when can you take gays, lesbians, bisexuals, pansexuals, asexual people, every sexual person except a heterosexual, lump them all together and say, okay, we all have to use the same vocabulary and think alike. It's just stupid. The whole thing is
Right.
dumb. And so
Yeah,
that's why I
because
say I'm an H. I'm a homosexual, and that's it.
I respect that. I do. I do. And I think I mean, it's an interesting way to look at things. I mean, when I, again, growing up to show like the difference in things, I remember in the early 80s, if you had your ears pierced,
Mhm.
like depending on the ear, you were
Right.
identifying as being a gay man.
Mhm.
And I would remember going to job interviews and taking earrings out
Yeah, you had to, because I
because
just a
it
normal
wasn't
person.
acceptable. It really wasn't socially acceptable. And even the idea of drag,
Mhm.
gay bars, all it was just taboo and kind of it's like it was just kind of kept at its a private thing, as it
Right.
in my opinion, as it should be. And I look at
Right.
these things as being sexual, and I
They
believe
are.
that sexual things should be private unless you're in a agreed upon space like a club or something like that.
I've never been to a gay club that was not sexual.
But
And
when do sorry, go ahead.
no, so that's what I don't understand is, well, it's not inherently sexual. Oh, well, it just well, then it's just a coincidence that all gay clubs are sexual then, right?
Yeah, because I don't think people go to gay clubs just to drink alcohol.
No, gay
They're
men go
usually
to
there to meet somebody to usually have sex
yeah,
with.
it's a hookup place. Like,
Yeah,
like I grew up, the pride flag
like a
was up
Tinder
with
online
yeah, that's
or
yeah,
A
but
real life Tinder.
before all of this, the phone apps and everything, a gay man could go to a gay club. You knew you were going to find another gay man there, and you knew you were going to find gay men that were horny and wanted to have sex. So then you knew that you were going to go there and try to pick up on somebody and go have sex. I mean,
Well, same
it's
thing
not
with hetero people. We go to bars a lot of times. I mean, there are times people go to socialize, of course, but
right.
a lot of times people are looking for some fun,
Hmm.
per se.
No, and the thing is with the gay clubs, they'll have different ones. Like they'll have a drag one, they'll have a leather one, they'll have just different fetishes, that are kind of built into the night. Or a club could have like a leather night or a bear night, which would be a big hairy big man. That's what they would call a bear, a man like a gay man, with that aesthetic. And the gay community is very it's into kink and fetish, and it's that's what it is. And so that's when I see kids, I'm like, stop it. I don't, you go, I can right now go to a brunch on a Saturday or Sunday at a gay themed restaurant or a bar, which will be opened during the day for brunch, and they'll allow kids in there. See, in California, if you have a gay club, but yet it's also a restaurant, which a lot of them will add restaurant to the name and serve food till 11 o'clock, so they can call themselves a restaurant. So you could have a clientele of 18 and over instead of 21 and over. But also during the day, you could open it up as a restaurant and to everybody. And then during those hours, they're doing drag shows to entertain people during brunch, and children are there too. And a lot of these performers are forgetting that it's not a nighttime act, it's a daytime act, and there are kids there, and they'll pull out their sexual moves and stuff.
So they're performing as if they're performing for just an adult audience.
Right. And before anybody starts typing, into their little computers or whatever, I'm not saying every drag queen. Okay. You always have to specify with that community, because they're always looking for a way to chip at your argument, and then they'll chip at the stupidest things. It's not everybody.
Right. And like I was telling you, during this interview, I did not want to come off as being ignorant and sound like some sort of idiot with having this conversation. I just feel
Right.
like it's a
No,
conversation that we need to have because
yeah.
it's causing a lot of division. I do want to get into like the drag queen story hour, but I'm curious, like, why do you think this whole movement has went from being fringe and private to being mainstream and shoved and literally like just being shoved in people's faces? I think
Okay.
they've made laws now where if you misidentify somebody's gender, you can be convicted of some sort of crime.
I believe Canada has already enacted that type of policy. I know they're trying in the US. I don't know if different states have done it. I'm not really that well versed on that part of it. But honestly, and okay, now people are going to think I'm going to wear my tinfoil hat, but I think the reason why
I
it's
I'm
being
I have a tinfoil hat all the time, so most of my viewers are pretty tinfoil people. So you're in the right place.
okay, I honestly think it's being shoved down our throats. First of all, because it's very lucrative for the pharmaceuticals. Okay, when you when okay, and they're using, I believe, drag queens as a gateway to trans, because not very few drag queens are trans. A lot of them are just guys like me. Okay, and I believe they're using us as a gateway to get the kids involved, to confuse them, to make basically lifelong patients out of them, and to make them more docile and controllable, and to have more control over them. I don't believe that the drag community understands this is going on. I think the drag community is just enjoying the attention they're getting, because honestly, a drag queen is nothing. They're really an attention whore. They love getting on stage. They like getting up, shocking people, entertaining people. And more than anything, they love the dollar you're throwing at them. And drag queens do not make a lot of money. So they
Right.
give them $50. A bookstore will give them $50 to go read this book to these kids. And then they feel like a star. And they also feel safe in front of that audience. Now they have all these kids that are kind of staring at them and not being judgmental openly to them. And I also believe that for some performers, it kind of heals something in them that may have hurt them. Like I couldn't be open when I was young. I was, repressed, or, my parents were religious, and, I got kicked out of the house. I think it's also kind of feeding off the pain of that performer. And I think they're enjoying the acceptance at that moment.
Yeah, I can really honestly respect that, especially
Mhm.
knowing like, how things were back just like in the 80s of me growing up, and having to hide, who you are, being made
Mhm.
fun of, bullied, maybe violence taking place, people beating, fights and stuff in school by
Mhm.
kids. But taking it to the level of incorporating children into it, because getting back to the drag queen story hour thing, the problem that I have is, like you said, I don't feel, and this is my opinion. A
Right.
lot of people I've talked to kind of are in the same agreement that drag is a sexual oriented thing,
Right.
and we don't see the promotion of stripper story hour for kids, like male or female strippers in their thongs and their
Mhm.
with a pasty on a female with a pasty, reading to kids. So why do we have drag performers or drag queens or however somebody wants to identify reading to children, and people being adamant about, no, we need to do this? And then like what you were saying with the tinfoil hat ideas of what this could be leading to, um I agree with that part of it too, but there's also the thing that people have been talking about with grooming.
Right.
And when I say grooming, I'll let you speak on this. What is, when you talk about the word grooming in conjunction with drag story hour and things to that effect, what do you mean by the trans, the LGBTQIA plus community? What is the objective?
Okay. So there's two messages going on. Okay, there's the people on my side who see grooming as okay, grooming is taking a child and basically weakening the boundaries and the barriers for them. So for instance, one specific way that we believe that they're being groomed is an adult taking a child and speaking to them in a sexual way, or talking about their own personal sex life. This is happening at Drag Queen Storybook Hour. This is also happening in schools with teachers, with
Right.
LGBTQ teachers. I
Books in
right,
schools as
I
well.
I don't recall ever going to school and my teacher telling me that they just got married to a man or a woman. But it's always seems to be the LGBT ones that just feel like they have to tell their students something about their personal life, their sex life, doing something to confuse the child, about their gender or sexuality, or even putting it in their head that what you could change your sex. If you want to wear a dress and change your name to Sally. It's just ridiculous. And I don't that to me, that in my world of gay people that are fighting against it, that's what grooming is. But what the left has done is they have taken the word grooming and they have attached the word molestation and rape to it. Now,
Right.
that could be a
Well,
result
there
from
could be
grooming.
degrees of
Right.
grooming.
But we're saying we don't believe every single drag queen or every single teacher for that matter wants to get in your child's pants. We're not saying that. But you are basically taking our argument and you're turning the volume up way high to try to discredit what you're making it ridiculous. And then, so then you're turning around calling us transphobe and homophobes, but yet we are in your community. We are trans, we are gay, we are drag queens, and we are saying that this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. So they're taking our logical message and then trying, like I said, to make it more ridiculous by insinuating we're saying that everybody's raping their children. And that's not what we're saying.
So me as a child, if I saw a drag performer, drag queen, it would just be like seeing an alien to me at the time. So now if you have a younger child who's around these kind of situations more and more and more, it conditions them to be more acceptant of. And I think that's what the grooming, the minor level of degree of grooming that we're talking about. And a good example about that is Aliens. Like the fact that, so we had all these movies, all these different things kind of conditioning us, prepping us, grooming us for extraterrestrial aliens. And now that we have UAPs and all these alien supposed sightings, there's no effect. Nobody cares.
Right. It's so funny because when they were coming out with that, on the news and stuff saying, oh, all this is, it's true. It's possibly true. No one freaked out.
No. So it's very, very, very similar in that aspect. And I also, with the tinfoil hat, wonder, because there's a big push from a globalist agenda about the transhuman movement. And I'm just wondering, is this also like grooming and conditioning for transhumanism?
You mean like aliens turning into humans?
No, I mean like us progressing beyond where we are now. Like, so like people from the World Economic Forum, Noral Harobi or whatever his name is, I forget. He's one of the gentlemen that speaks about that humans will be hackable animals. It's like getting the Neuralink and all these different things to enhance who you are, to take the evolution out of nature and put it in the hands of man, so that so that we can become eventually like have AI cybernetic parts.
They're cyborgs.
Yeah, basically that's kind of what the transhuman agenda is kind of going towards. And I just wonder if like this whole, because South Park has done a really great job of being sarcastic and making a mockery of all this. And one of the episodes I had seen, when they were talking about people identifying themselves as different things, not just genders, one of the kids' fathers identified as a dolphin.
Okay.
And he actually got like a surgery to be, part dolphin and stuff. It was pretty funny, because I mean, there are some people now that are identifying as like animals, made up people things.
Were doing that. They were doing that transracial too. There was a guy who turned himself into a Korean woman or something, and it's like, and then people were so against it. Oh, you can't do that. You're not allowed. Well, why not? Why not? Why can't I do surgery, do whatever the hell I wanted? You did. You decided, no, I want to be a woman, so I'm going to be a woman. Well, I want to be Korean. I mean, but the funny thing is, the problem that they're going to have is 50 years from now, they're going to be called the bigots when it's accepted to people can change their race. So then what? The people who are, they think they're so wonderful now, and virtue signaling and trying to protect race and stuff. In 50 years, they're going to be the bigots.
No, I agree. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about your alter ego, because and I do want to bring your alter ego on. That's how I was introduced to you as an individual. And then I called you and I was, I had to ask, are you a comedian? Are you playing a character? Is this a joke? Because, and I'm talking about, and I think I'm saying it correctly, but Hagatha Sisty?
Yes.
I got it right. Okay.
Hagatha.
Hagatha is a work of art. I told you that. So this is your TikTok. You've had a couple different TikTok accounts get banned.
Oh God.
I'll have a link down below for I'm Hog Kitty.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, that's my newest one. I'm trying to grow it back to, I've had like, I've been up to 87,000 followers, and I would go on almost every day and do a live, and you just get you get what I call the mass bully reporting, and everybody would just start reporting me who thought I'm making fun of trans people, and I go, no, I say Hagatha is a real woman because
This
since
is
they've
prosthetics right here, right?
yeah, they're prosthetics.
That's what I was thinking.
And I said screw it. It was like 2020, I think, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to design a drag character that is everything that they claim could be a woman. I mean, so I'm now going to be this modern woman that they claim exists, which is a human can now say, I'm a woman, and you have to respect them and call them a woman. So I don't even say I'm trans. I don't even say I'm doing drag. I'm a woman. And so I am playing this character. And the funny thing is, if it, I basically improvised Hagatha's story from day one, and people would ask me questions, and I would go, okay, this is it," because it's a live show that I do, and I've gone as long as 11 hours to do that show, just complete improv. And the funny thing is, I just tap into basically the liberal mindset that I used to live in, back when I was young, and I thought nobody liked me, and everybody called me a faggot and stuff. And so I was a big victim, and I basically tap into that, and I find a problem with everything. And this character has a problem with everything. She will out victim you because she is disabled. She's a lesbian. She's a vegan. She's an intersectional feminist. She's even done her DNA, and now she identifies as African because she's 2% African. So she can speak for the African American community. She also calls herself a Native American because she was born in the United States, and so she's native to the United States. She's an abortion survivor, but she also supports abortion. Just, raised by her grandparents. Her mother died of suicide. It basically, she is going to out victim you at around every corner. And that's what she does. Oh, this is a new show that I started. I'm starting a new interview show. That's what that is. Um, but yeah, and you know what? I had to get a PO box number because people wanted to
I
see.
didn't realize I was just muted there. I was
Oh,
telling you, I was cracking.
oh,
I'm cracking up to the point I'm almost like tearing up because it's just so hilarious. But Hagatha's hot seat. Go ahead.
okay. So I started getting requests. People wanted to send me gifts, and I'm like, I'm not giving people my address. So I had to get a PO box, and I started getting gifts from all around the world. I had no idea that it had gone global. And you wouldn't believe the gifts and the money people sent me. And there are people who believe that Hagatha is a real person, but then there's also the people who know it's fake and they still watch it just because of the entertainment value and for how people get triggered by Hagatha. Um, that the flyer you just showed, the Log Cabin Republicans, which are the gay
This,
arm of the Republican Party, right there. They
yeah.
hired me to do a performance in Los Angeles. And the funny thing is, I'll always say that the Republicans have given me way more money than any of the liberals or Democrats, even before they knew that I had voted for Donald Trump.
You are a interesting individual. This is why, like, I had to think when I first saw Hagatha and didn't know anything about Kitty. I was like literally thinking that you were just this like comedian who was trolling everybody.
And
That's the vibe that I got.
yeah, I mean, that's what Hogarth is doing. But so it is funny because people assume that I'm I guess a comedian. But I guess I mean I've always been a performer. I've been in drag, but I never considered myself a comedian. I mean, people have always thought I was funny my whole life, but I never considered at all a career in comedy or anything. And it's just,
You could take Hagatha on the road and do stand up. You totally could.
and I would, if anybody could help me do that, I would love to do it. I don't know how to make that happen, but
And Joe Rogan needs to get you over at his comedy club with the mothership in Austin, Texas. I think
oh,
you'd sell it out.
I had no idea he has his own comedy club.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
he
I had no
created a
idea.
comedy club in Austin, Texas. I think it's called the Mothership. It's got an alien kind of vibe to it, but yeah.
Oh, I gotta look. I'll
Because
look
that's
into it.
where that's his studio. His secret location is in for his studio is in Austin. He lives in that vicinity.
Yeah, I know another influencer, Blair White, which is a trans woman, uh, who's interestingly enough getting really close to what's his name, Alex Jones and Joe Rogan. It just recently moved to Austin, Texas.
The name sounds familiar. What was Blair White involved with?
Blair White is a trans woman who is on our side, and promotes the NRA and all kinds of stuff. She's very much hated by the left, and she's a Republican, and people like us, the left, constantly say, "Oh, you're self-loathing homosexuals, you're self-loathing transsexuals." No, we actually really love ourselves a lot, enough to be honest, and to actually be honest about what we want and what we like. So no, they couldn't be any further from the truth.
So, what would you say are the main differences between Kitty and Hagatha? Because it seems
Well,
like you're almost blending the two on a social media element, but they're distinctly different.
right. Kitty is basically Billy with makeup on. It's just an aesthetic or a look. I mean, when I would perform on stage, of course, they didn't know my politics or how I felt. So, I typically my routines on stage were tended to be dirty, not like overtly dirty or sexual, but I would do little things like create an illusion of a tampon string hanging from my crotch, or things like that, where something really short, just something shocking and kind of dirty and naughty, which tends to be drag, anyway. Uh, but Hagatha is a complete character. Like, with like I said, she has her own wardrobe. She's disabled. But you want to know something funny is when I came up with Hagatha, you know, during while I was doing Hagatha, I actually did become disabled. So
Oh, that
I
sucks.
well, yeah,
So
I
you're mocking the whole like disabled thing, and then you have you end up getting a disability.
I'm now, yeah, I'm now,
Like karma.
I've chronic fatigue, not chronic fatigue syndrome. That's Hagatha's disability. She's chronic fatigue syndrome and obesity. That's morbid obesity. But she walks with a walker. Sometimes she has a walker, sometimes she doesn't. But no, since all this since 2020, I had a heart attack. I had to have I have congestive heart failure. So I'm considered chronically ill, even though I'm healthy right now. But yeah, I can't work a regular job anymore. And it's just interesting. I just was thinking about that one day. I go, wow, I was playing this character who says she's disabled, and now I find myself in that position.
So I'm trying to find a spot here to show people Billy because Billy is you.
I have no social media. Yeah, well, there I am, but there's no social media for Billy anymore. Because
You
what was it?
aside from your voice though, if I just saw you, I definitely wouldn't have thought that you did drag, that you were gay, anything like
Right.
that. You look kind of like just a regular dude.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a
But your
big
voice is you have a kind of a feminine sounding voice.
right. And the funny thing is that is something that has just haunted me my whole life. And you try to butch it up or whatever, but it's so forced. And I mean,
What's up with this bad wig, by the way?
I sound gayer than that one. Um, and yeah, that's that maybe a girl. That's the one who says I'm a transsexual and a drag queen. And when he said that, and the funny thing is, I live actually not far from this person, and
Yeah,
not only
I heard him saying he was in the LA area, and I was thinking in my head, did you guys like cross paths before? Because you didn't seem like you knew each other, and you didn't seem like you would be friends outside of the show either.
and not no, and not only that, this is what I don't understand is when I was the manager of the nightclub in LA, this person performs in LA. I got to know every drag queen in LA. I worked, it's a very popular club. A lot of the drag queens come out of the club, the pageant circuit, out of the club I worked at, and would go on RuPaul's Drag Race and become world famous. So everybody wanted to perform at the club I worked at. I had never heard of this person before, ever. Never heard of them. I don't really think I think what they do is, well, I know where they perform, but it's a very like a no-name place, and it's usually drag bingo. So they're just like calling numbers, and I'm like, you're kind of promoting yourself as a drag queen, but you're not. You're just a transsexual person who's, getting involved in drag just to say you're there. But he's not like this big performing drag queen at all. Hence the wig. I mean, that wig
Oh, that was
was
very bad. Look,
awful.
your hair looks nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Agatha's hair looks awful, but that's on purpose.
oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I could be as
But
polished or as
maybe
crappy.
I think was trying to go for looking nice, and it just looks
Yeah.
like a $5 wig.
Well, no, that's what, he came on that show wanting to look his best because, he knew he was in the,
The hot seat.
right, not such, yeah, not, I mean, Tim Pool we were very respectful, very. In fact, if people watch that, the maybe a girl completely ran over us, wouldn't let us speak, was very rude and aggressive. And
Yeah,
we just sat there and allowed
almost
it.
almost like seemingly wanting to be controversial, wanting to go against what you guys were saying, even if it seemed to be kind of contradicting some of the things that were already said. Because I thought there
Oh,
was
yeah.
several contradictory things said in that show.
Oh, he constantly contradicted himself, and then he would repeat the same thing in just a different way. I can tell that he's probably had some kind of training in speaking or some kind of liberal talking points to just run over you with all these nonsensical words that no one really uses. And it was just we after the show, I haven't told anybody this, but after me and Tim Pool, we were having sushi and drinks afterwards. And he flat out said, he goes, you know what? A lot of people during the show were writing saying, hey, why are you letting it talk so much? And he said, well, I just figured just let it talk. Let it talk, and then you figure out who it is and what it really is saying. And that was the truth, It just kept talking and talking and talking. We figured out who he was.
Last question with this is, when you did that show with Tim Pool, why did you decide to go as Billy and not Kitty or even Hagatha?
Well, I'll tell you why, because I there comes a and I, what, I'm very kind of well grounded and down to earth and kind of, I could see reality, and I know that me dressed as a man gets more respect than me dressed like this. Now, and I'm not saying that that would be so true for this show in particular, but in Tim Pool's world, there's a lot of right wing people, a lot of macho heterosexual men. And I don't think that they would necessarily take me serious dressed like this. And because and I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I'm just saying, if you get some guy up there dressed like a clown, I mean, really, how serious are you going to take them, especially when you're used to them acting a certain way? So I knew I had to break through that, and I knew maybe would come on dressed in drag. So I'm like, I want to show a different face of drag. I want to show the guy behind the makeup, and to show that I'm a serious person and sort of just show myself as I really am.
Which I think it's really, I mean, I think it's good that you have these different variations of where you want to be respectful to the people around you and you want to
Hmm.
present things in a different manner because of what's being presented in a mainstream form. So again, I think I commend you for what you're doing, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you taking time to do the interview. I appreciate you taking time to get dressed up and do this as Kitty and not come on as Billy. I do want to leave kind of a cliffhanger for people, and I think that you're acceptant of this. We're recording this on the 21st of September. I think we're going to be releasing it it's later Thursday evening on my end, and I think we're going to be releasing it on Monday the 25th. I've got to go to Vegas next weekend. Depending on your availability next week or the week after, I would really like to invite you back on as Hagatha Sisty
Okay, cool.
and just do some really crazy off the rails stuff with that character. I think would be great, and do it as a Rumble video so that we can speak freely and not have to worry about the YouTube algorithm trying to, I don't know, I guess you don't really have any problems with the YouTube algorithm, do you?
Well, I've never been kicked off. I mean, I get demonetized on certain videos, but I
But is it because you're using copyrighted material, or is it
yes.
because it's not like you're saying something that you're not doing like Russell Brand and they're demonetizing you? It's stuff that you're doing.
No. Yeah, it's just because I do a lot of singing, so if I use, like, something with copyright or whatever, they'll mute it out or they'll share the money, with
Which
the
makes sense, yeah.
artist. Right, right. No.
No, I was actually joking about trying to like just identifying as a female and female lesbian cross-dresser,
Right?
and then I could just be myself. And
Yeah.
I thought maybe the YouTube algorithm would favor me better if I identified as a female.
It might, you never know. I mean, I have no
With the
idea
way
how
things are, I don't know, because it seems like the platform is very pro getting like the drag queen story hour message out and just
Mhm.
keeping that conversation kind of going. I noticed there's a lot of different kind of reaction videos from like your alpha male kind of people to just regular people just reacting to a variety of things from trans to the LGBTQIA plus and all that.
I wonder if it would
I hope.
help, like, on videos to put hashtags, of just LGBTQ friendly stuff, I mean, no one could see them, but except I wonder if the algorithm will, like, recognize them?
Maybe I'll start putting rainbows on my thumbnails.
They're not.
Well, Kitty, I really enjoyed this interview. Before we wrap things up, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that you want to add? Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to bring some
You
attention to?
No, I just wanna say, it's what are we in 2023, getting toward the end of it, and, I started this, the kids thing, protecting kids in 2019 or something, and, it's been going on for quite a while, and, I it's not that I've stepped away from the message, I've kind of like I feel like finally parents in heterosexual America, they now see it, they now understand what's going on, and it thrills me to watch my local news and to see parents protesting now at school board meetings, at libraries, at, other things, that involve their children being indoctrinated. And that was my goal. My goal the whole time was to build this bridge between the two. And so now I can sit back. I'm no longer beating this drum because now I basically the parents have now taken it over. They're making change in the schools. They're making change finally. I even made videos shaming parents going, "When are you guys going to wake up? When are you going to get off your ass? When are the men going to get out there and start protecting their little girls? When are they going to get out there and start protecting their boys?" And so to ensure that your boy grows up to be the man you want him to be. And I'm finally seeing that, and it's making me very happy. So, you know what? Kudos to you, America, for making that happen. And I just basically give the reins to you, and I'm gonna sit back and watch it, enjoy it, and entertain like I used to.
Well, again, I think that you're a breath of fresh air when it comes to this topic and this, the way that I really feel like there's a lot of toxicity out there, and I
Yeah,
feel like you kind of are taking away some of that toxicity and taking the poison out of the well as much as possible, and I think we need that. Because I now to be fair, I'm not against anybody wanting to identify however they want to identify. I
right.
know that biologically there's male, females, and then there are hermaphrodites.
Mhm.
And I can respect the fact that somebody wants to identify as a different gender. I can respect that, but it's when you make laws against it. Like I don't have those protections. You
Right.
shouldn't have this. We should be all on the same foot, and we should all just treat people how we want to be treated, and not have the other way around, and not have things being shoved down our faces, or down our throats. Because if we're receptive to things, we will seek them out on our own. We don't have to be chased down and told, join the fight, and get out, and get your rainbow costume on, and get out here and join us.
Mhm.
And it's so. Again, I
Right.
really appreciate, and I definitely look forward to having more conversations. I'm going to have links down below for all your social media, for Kitty Demure's YouTube channel,
Mhm.
for Kitty Demure's Facebook, for the TikTok account of I'm Hog Kitty. You can find it Hog Kitty. We also have the Hagatha Sisty YouTube channel. We have
Right.
the Hagatha Sisty Instagram. You got a plethora of things here. The
I got a
Hagatha
lot.
Sisty Facebook, and I'll
Yeah.
also include links for that conversation on Fox News, and also for this episode of Tim Pull the Culture War, so people can check it out and listen to Billy and kind of get Billy's perspective on things as well. So thank you again. I really appreciate.
Thank
And
you, Chris. Thanks for having me.
if you could bear with me real quick, just going to do the wrap up and stop recording. So again, links will be down below for everything that we talked about on today's show. I definitely encourage you to subscribe and check out the social media accounts for Kitty Demure and Hagatha Sisty. Stay tuned for the next interview, which will feature Hagatha. And I would definitely like to get Kitty. I would like to get Billy. I'd like to have you back on as a returning guest in plethora of things. And for people that are watching this, I'd love to get some feedback, what you think about this conversation, what you would be interested in hearing us potentially talk about, any questions that you might have of Kitty, or even questions that you might have of Hagatha. Feel free to comment them down below in the comment section. I'd be greatly appreciated. And I would encourage you also to make sure you're subscribed here at Rice Against the Grain, as well as my other YouTube channel, Rice TVX. And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little positivity. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in this matrix. Be the change that you want to see in the world. And until next time, practice change.